Recording by Leanne Yao. Secresy, or The Ruin on the Rock, by Eliza Fenwick. Volume 3, Letter 14. From Janetta Laundy to Lord Filmar. My Lord, I did suppose, on the receipt of your first letter, that you alluded to my calling one evening on Mr. Montgomery, and had I not been withheld by the unwillingness I felt to disclose the secrets of another person, I should certainly then have acknowledged that I paid a visit to Mr. Montgomery. But, my lord, you compel me, notwithstanding my extreme reluctance, to make this confession. At the same time, I must, to prevent your surmises injurious to myself, own to you that I called on Mr. Montgomery the evening you named, by the order of Mrs. Ashburn, whose very particular friend he is. The commission, my lord, respected some business of a private nature. Therefore, you will perceive how necessary it is that you should keep secret your knowledge of this transaction. There is scarce anything which Mrs. Ashburn would not sooner pardon in me than this breach of confidence. With respect to my introducing you, my lord, to Mr. Montgomery, a moment's consideration will convince you of its impropriety. In the unhappy and dependent situation which the misfortunes heaped upon my family have compelled me to seek, it is not the least of its afflicting circumstances that I am obliged to shape all my actions to the will or opinions of those by whom I am surrounded. That I should so suddenly claim an intimacy with a person of Lord Filmar's youth, graces, and accomplishments, might appear suspicious to Mrs. Ashburn. Beside, my lord, how do you suppose I am to conduct myself in your presence? For, although you may have forgotten the time when you could not approach me without trembling, I can neither cease to remember nor cease to feel. It is not possible for me to divine why you should insist so vehemently on my bringing you acquainted with Mr. Montgomery, nor is it easy to decline any request, however hazardous the grant, when it is urged by one who has such claims, although now neglected, as you have, my lord, on me. I have studied in what way, with any probability of safety to myself, I can gratify your wish, and find no other than your renewing your acquaintance with the Duchess de N., who is also at this time in London. Mr. Montgomery visits there frequently. I think, my lord, I need hardly remind you of the caution you ought to use, if by any accident it appears that we are acquainted. Mr. Montgomery was in Paris a short time after you left it. He was, like you, intimate with my father, but he did not gain the devoted heart of the daughter. To wound my reputation now would be barbarity. Were you by any hint or jest to create a surmise in the breast of Mr. Montgomery, it would instantly be conveyed by him to Mrs. Ashburn, and my ruin would be certain. I entreat you will think of this with attention, and you would be well convinced of the attention it demands, could you know how scrupulously observant Mrs. Ashburn is of my conduct. Janetta Laundy. End of section 52. Recording by Leanne Yao.